Hello students, today you're going to be switching up your notes number 1, and instead of doing questions 1 through 2 and the Bran experiment, instead you're going to be doing your own experiment and use the guided virtual lab of the mealworm behavior to develop a different experiment. The experiment that you will be trying to solve is called How to Keep Mealworms Away from Wet Macaroni. You will use your observations in other literature and or own curiosity to develop a way to keep mealworms away from some wet macaroni. You're going to be given a tote, and that tote is going to have some wet macaroni in it. You're going to get 3 mealworm larvae and 3 mealworm adults. Your job is to keep the mealworm larvae and adults away from the wet macaroni. You can only use safe household materials. You'll be given the plastic tote with all of the materials inside of it, and you can't just build a physical barrier. It has to use something from behavior to try to keep them away. You'll be graded by developing a title using the same directions that we did from the past experiment. This should include everything that is on your title hyperlink, and it goes through and talks about how you have to have it in certain length. Also, it needs to have an independent and dependent variable, along with starting with the word effect. That hyperlink will be a good review. However, you will not submit that form again, but instead create a title on a piece of paper to be taped to your tote. The title needs to be clearly written and on your tote. Along with the title of trying to figure out how to keep worms away from wet macaroni, you will be developing a hypothesis. The hypothesis relates to first semester's directions on how to formulate a hypothesis. If you do not remember how, I would go back to that video and re-watch it. It talks about how you need to have an independent and dependent variable included in your hypothesis. It also talks about if and then statements. The hypothesis needs to be clear and concise and relate to that video, and is also worth 10 points. The last thing you're going to do is utilize the results form number 4 to make some new results. You won't have to share the table or graph with me. Instead, you will need to just clearly and neatly draw it out on a piece of paper, or you can print it and use Google Form or Google Spreadsheets to create your own. Either way, the graph and table must have all the requirements from the form, which relate to the title, the labels, and making sure that the correct information is in it. The entire due date for this is on March 29th by 9th period. You will be given time in class on Monday and Tuesday to develop all these different materials, and hopefully if you have questions, you'll ask, and I will be able to answer them. Your materials are out in the lab, and when you're ready, please raise your hand and we will set you up with how you're going to do it.